Good evening, everyone. Again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Waterbury Board of Education regular board meeting at the Waterbury Career Arts Academy. We'll begin this evening with a moment of silence. Okay, Dr. Ruffin.
In our moment of silence this evening, let us remember our former employees of the Waterbury Public Schools who have passed away. Ricky A. Banks retired from Waterbury Department of Education after 20 years of service and passed away on February 11th of 2019. Jenny Caporaso retired from Waterbury Special Education Department and passed away on February 19th, 2019. Let us remember them and recognize their service and dedication to the students of Waterbury this evening.
Commissioner Van Stone, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I'd be honored. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Watts?
Here.
Vice President Harvey?
Here.
Commissioner Hernandez?
Here.
Commissioner Pagano?
Here.
Commissioner Serrano-Adorno? Commissioner Sedengo? Commissioner Sweeney?
Here.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Present.
Commissioner Congan?
Present.
President Brown?
Present. Thank you. Next on the agenda is communications. Could I have a motion?
Motion to receive and place.
Oh, go ahead. Commissioner Hernandez.
Motion to receive and place on file communications as listed.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner. Next is public address to the board. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to suspend the regular business here from the public.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Public address. First, I'd like to welcome Jimmy Griffin.
Good evening, members of the board,
Does everybody have one of these?
president of the board,
Nice.
superintendent of schools. I'm here because I've been following the diversion program, and I wanted to actually ask that you not abandon the program, but delay the program, because I think that there needs to be some input from outside of the police department in formulating this. We need and want a diversion program. However, the one proposed by the Waterbury Police Department is not the one our community needs. The proposed diversion plan was designed with no input from students, parents, mental health or behavioral health experts, teachers, or juvenile justice experts. This was designed by 3 officers with known training and restorative practices, degrees, or credentials relating to education or child development. This disqualifies it as a restorative practice. It's a one-size-fits-all approach. There is no ability to add or subtract interventions, and this makes the program unreliable. This program is likely to be responsive to diversity of students we have in our city. This disqualifies it as a restorative practice. There is no peer-to-peer mentorship or student-led intervention in the proposed program. This disqualifies it as a restorative practice. Excluding all those except the time offenders combined with others, clear entry points, or rejection criteria other than first-time offenders. This disqualifies it as a restorative. Only the police determine student participation and successful completion. Concentrating on the power in the hands of the police department is unfair and would be susceptible to negative impacts of racial bias and stereotyping. Our community should share those responsibilities. This disqualifies them as a restorative practice. There are no evaluation or assessment standards for this program. The last police-run diversion program did not provide reports or evaluations or an assessment on its own effectiveness. The public, the students, and the parents and the school staff must be made aware of the ways the program will be evaluated. The lack of these elements disqualifies it also. In a response to the superintendent, I would have her encourage staff to no longer use out-of-school suspensions for level 1 and 2 policy violations. The superintendent should mandate there be no more arrests for children under 12 years or younger unless otherwise mandated by the Connecticut state law. Superintendent should create with a community partners, a student, and a working group dedicated to addressing school discipline disparities. The Board of Education should command school district leadership to report at least quarterly disaggregated school discipline data to the board and each school community and make that data available to the district and school websites. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Robert Goodrich.
Good evening, Dr. Ruffin and Board of Education Commissioners. My name is Robbie Goodrich. I'm the co-founder of Radical Advocates for Cross-Cultural Education. You're welcome. You've all received this address, but I'll try to do it as quickly as possible. The school-to-prison pipeline isn't a unicorn. It's a reoccurring and very evident form of oppression here in Waterbury. For some of you, it has grown and become even more of a destructive force under your watch as Board of Education Commissioners and those who steward this school district at its highest level. Let me remind you of some of the facts. Over the last 5 years, there have been over 61,000 suspensions, over 1,200 school-based arrests, over 17,000 students suspended, and over 1,100 individual students arrested. Through the first 100 days of school this year, we've learned that there have been 897 police-led interventions in our schools that have led to 211 arrests. The sheer volume and frequency of the suspensions and arrests of students should cause you to pause and reevaluate what it is this board is supposed to be doing and what it should be held accountable for. However, it's the disparate rate of arrests and suspensions of our Black, Hispanic, special education, and English language learning students and the rate that they experience them is what's driven us here to address this board. So, hidden in those numbers is where the generational oppression and institutionalized racism can fester and destroy communities. I want to highlight this point. It's been deliberately hidden here. In 2016, a contested case hearing in front of the Freedom of Information Commission, the district leadership admitted that their data collection system had the capacity to disaggregate data at the student level, but the administration chose not to. Therefore, leaving our requests for this data unfulfilled and leaving the public in the dark about meaningful and very dangerous disparate rates of suspension and arrest for students here in Waterbury. Superintendent Ruffin, our message to you is this. We don't blame you. We're looking to you and the new members of your cabinet to implement interventions and training that are staff-facing, and to couple those with new accountability measures and transparency standards that directly address the patterns of systemically racist outcomes for our most vulnerable students. So therefore, we're asking you and the board to abandon your support of the newly proposed police diversion program. We ask you to do so because of some of very specific issues that Mr. Griffin mentioned disqualify the program as a restorative practice. It should be noted that any poorly designed and unscientific intervention will be unable to address the root cause of any education dilemma. But a poorly designed and unscientific intervention that's staffed with untrained and non-certified individuals will always worsen the disparities and the outcomes. Mr. Griffin also noticed some of the other reasons why the program should be disqualified, and we all agreed upon these on Monday night at a community meeting. Fundamentally, the board and I think the superintendent misinformed the public. We now know that the JRB at Waterbury Youth Services was funded with $150,000 in September of this year. And according to Nicole Howe, who manages this program at the Office of Policy Management, that JRB is fully up and running. We don't need the program that was introduced by the police department. So Mr. Griffin also talked about a few other things that we agreed upon. So in summary, the design of the program makes it impossible for the impacts of bias and stereotyping and even overt racism to be checked. It is on its face value a dangerous idea. Our students, parents, teachers, and schools need a diversion program, but this one is not it. Start over. Include students and parents, issue experts like the Connecticut Juvenile Justice Alliance in Bridgeport, or the Juvenile Justice Oversight Policy Committee, or the Tao Justice Institute at the University of New Haven. Not three guys that got together to decide to treat an urgent crisis. So let's keep this out of the hands of the police. So in the interim, we have four other requests, Dr. Ruffin. We hope that you consider them, and we also hope that the board takes a better stance on building more transparency and accountability about providing the public access to disaggregated discipline data on a formal, consistent basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Renee Coryat.
Hi. I come here as a concerned citizen. I've been a resident of Waterbury for over 20 years. I have an adult child. He's not a child anymore. I have a grandchild who will be entering into the system. So my concern is valid. I have skin in the game, and even if I did not, I'm a taxpayer, and I have a concern of where my funds go. So my initial concern is, of course, maybe not obvious, but the racial disparity that is no secret to anybody who's lived in this town for more than a month. It's quite obvious. There's some patterns and there's some things that need to be addressed. I don't think having police run a reformative program without the input of behavioral health professionals, students, parents, concerned citizens, without that transparency, we're losing a lot, and we're probably, most certainly, increasing the problem. You don't fix a problem with a problem. So I'm here hopefully to shed some light that they're just regular folks out here that are concerned, that would appreciate the transparency, again, as a citizen, that these things be a little bit more, communicated more to the public, that these things are happening and what's going on. I'm a little bit shook up because I'm just learning about this literally at the 11th hour, that this is happening, that this is what's going on, and this is where things are. And I'm truly shocked that this got off the ground without the necessary behavioral health and professional intervention that I would think would be required to deal with children. We're talking about children. Children don't ask to be here. We should not be treating children like they're a problem. Children having behavioral issues is the result of a problem that started somewhere else, but we treat children like they're the problem. And I can't see any more poignant way of telling children that they're a problem by having police come in and address them and tell them what they need to do to change. That doesn't make any sense to somebody with some critical thinking skills. I don't understand how that could be, and how you think that you're addressing the problem. All you're doing is telling children this is how you need to behave, and you're not fixing what is causing the behavioral issue. So abandon the program, start over, start from scratch, start with the right input, start with the right infrastructure, start with the right foundation and the right people and the right input, so that you address the problem and you don't create a bigger one. These are kids. They don't ask to be here. We have to show them some compassion, and I'm sorry, handing them over to the police and having police guard and watch them is not compassion. We got to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn Robinson.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Robinson. I'm in a state of confusion about an isolated incident that occurred on February 5th at Gilmartin School. I have an 11-year-old who attends the Waterbury Public School. I feel that the school district failed to provide services to my son that would reasonably be expected in a middle school setting. He was tripped by another 11-year-old, and my son fell, and he defended himself. He got up and he punched the kid, and he was arrested. The incident has impacted my son's academic self-esteem and the trust within the Waterbury Public School system. My question is, who is overseeing or investigating the teacher and student dynamics that are associated with the discipline and academic achievement gaps in our school system? I'm looking for a resolution and simplicity. I can't make an informed decision on how I should handle this the best way for my son without the appropriate interventions and programs. I don't believe or feel that the diversion program is appropriate for my son because there are no evaluation or assessment standards for this program at this time.
Thank you. Is there any other members of the public who wish to speak who didn't have an opportunity to sign up? Come right up.
Hi, my name is Kate Marcel. I am a former resident of Waterbury. I grew up in the Waterbury school system. Thank you. And I just wanted to just briefly share. I don't feel quite prepared to share everything I'd like to, so I'll say that. But I wanted to at least be able to stand up with everyone else who's working very hard and just put a little bit of my input in and hopefully get on the agenda for the next Board of Ed meeting with some more detailed information. I was really surprised when I read the article in the Waterbury Republican American about this diversion program called KIDS. I had submitted a proposal for a Waterbury program, after-school program, I didn't formally submit it, but I've submitted it in various avenues to different people in different ways, and it has been it's never been given more than a thought. The program that I have is based on restorative justice. It looks at social, racial inequities, and it looks at mental health and trauma and other behavioral issues, the reasons that kids are struggling in our schools. And so today, I just have 2 articles that I wanted to leave with you guys. I did not make copies for everyone because I didn't know how many people would be present. So I have 2 articles that just cite the importance of having restorative-based interventions in school programs and the outcomes of those. And then I have 5 packets that highlight a couple of the important things in here. It also has a copy of my proposal in here. This is an after-school program. It's already up and running in Watertown. It's called Kids Rise Up. And in Watertown, it's being implemented in a very small scale, not to the extent that I think Waterbury would benefit from it. And so that's in there. Again, this is sort of a rough draft. I've proposed it in different ways to different people to try to get it in front of someone who would listen. And so it's important for everyone here, for you guys, to hear that I want input. I need input from the students, from the parents, from the teachers, from the Board of Ed, from the superintendent, and from other mental health experts. I didn't say that in the beginning. I am a licensed professional counselor, and I specialize in child and teen development and trauma. And so I would love the opportunity to present further at the next Board of Ed meeting, but I want you guys to know that I stand with RACE and what they are saying to you guys today, and I would be happy to be a part of any type of intervention, whether it was run by my program or not. So even if there was someone else out there that needed some consulting, I think it's important that we get more people on board who have training and specialty in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, could I have a motion, please?
Motion to return to the regular order of business?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay. Next is superintendent's announcements.
Thank you, Commissioner. Beginning tomorrow morning on February 22nd, there will be a community stakeholders, parents, students, and staff at Waterbury Arts Magnet School's apron stage for a community forum on designing student pathways to success. The forum begins at 9 a.m. and it will end at 10:30. I just want to stress that this is a community forum. There are actually two sessions. There will be one on February 22nd, which is for our stakeholder groups involving our community, involving the chamber, involving business and industry, faith-based organizations that are primed to be able to assist us with developing our vision for college and career-ready students, and it's called Designing Student Pathways to Success. The second one of those forums will be on February 27th. This one will begin at 4 o'clock, and intentionally we'd like to schedule this in the afternoon to allow our teachers and our students and our parents to attend. I had an opportunity to speak with the host from WATR on Tuesday to talk about the activities that will be taking place and how we are calling for all voices of Waterbury to help us to design student pathways to success. The team have been having many family, community, student members receiving a lot of feedback on Portrait of a Graduate. We held our last one at Westside Middle School. The one that is a makeup session for the one that was canceled due to the snow is going to be made up on February 25th, and this one is going to be again at 6 o'clock at Wallace Middle School. Again, this is a snow date makeup on February 25th for our family and our community to come in and to help us design the Portrait of a Graduate for Waterbury. On Saturday, February 23rd, teams from our 3 comprehensive middle schools will compete against each other in a robotics competition. This will be held at Westside Middle School. The action starts at 10 a.m. Our high school students from around the state will be competing against each other at the New England First Robotics event the weekend of March 9th through March 10th, and this will be held at Wilby High School. Teams from Crosby, Kennedy, will be participating. There is an additional robotics event at Hartford Public High School the weekend of April 6th through the 7th. I'm very proud of our students, and I can't wait to be a participant or at least an observer of their very first robotics competition. Additionally, our schools have been celebrating Black History Month with a variety of exciting activities, including formal events and individual activities within the classrooms. A sampling of the remaining events include Waterbury Career Academy on Tuesday, February 26th, beginning at 10 a.m. and then at 1 p.m. Waterbury Arts Magnet School at the Palace Theater will also be having a celebration on Tuesday, February 26th at 1 p.m. Maloney Magnet School on Wednesday, February 27th, first at 5:15 p.m. and then another session at 6:45, and then Crosby High School on March 1st at noon. This concludes some of the announcements for the wonderful things happening. But before I turn it over, Commissioner, I do want to say that we're hearing from our parents, from our students, from our teachers, from our families on Portrait of a Graduate. And it's really designed to be able to help get community voice into what we need to do to help our students succeed, and to succeed in a very aggressive and rigorous way, so that we can challenge them to be able to accept some of those options that are going to be available for all of them. We know that it's quite challenging to be able to just say we want students to graduate from Waterbury Public Schools. Simply to graduate is insufficient. We need to define what that graduate should be able to do, what that graduate should learn, what characters of mind. And very importantly, after we have designed this, we really need to have the critical conversations on what do we need to do as a school system to create schools that would allow our students to excel in such a manner. We are getting to that point. We've had some interesting conversations. I look forward to discussing even more of that with our commissioners on March 7th. But I think the exciting thing is that we're getting some great feedback from our students and from our parents and from our teachers. And so what we need to do to afford our students an opportunity to learn in a meaningful manner that will prepare them for the challenges of the future. So I thank everyone, and I want to thank the public for coming out to Portrait of a Graduate. I believe you're going to see your work manifest itself in a strong strategic plan that will lead to some action and that will lead to us really making certain that our students are prepared, not just graduated, but actually prepared for the competition and for the world that exists ahead. Thank you.
Commissioner Van Stone.
Thank you, Madam President, through you, and I echo that, Dr. Ruffin, that the Portrait of a Graduate is something down the road we're going to look back on and say we're proud we were a part of it. So thank you for bringing that to us. Madam President, if you would allow me, I do have a few comments, and then I do have a recommendation I would like to bring forward to Dr. Ruffin as well. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise. That is the start to an anthem that I have stood proudly with members of our community to sing. Some of us know that anthem. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. We need to educate our students, Dr. Ruffin, on what America is. And that encompasses a lot. I've looked back on this past week and have seen our population not respect our country. My father served in World War II, not seen his firstborn until he was 2 years old. That brother of mine is also the father of Commissioner Jason Van Stone. It's not like today where you go online and you see your child. He did not see his firstborn until he was 2 years old. I also have a cousin that never came home from World War II. I have two brothers who served during Vietnam. One in Vietnam, where he now suffers to this day with a cancer because of the environment that he was exposed to. I have a son who served in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, he now has a Purple Heart. It takes 2 minutes to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. But our community recently has chosen not to. Here's my recommendation. We no longer let our students have a day off for Veterans Day. We no longer have our students take a day off for Dr. Martin Luther King, as long as they go to an event that teaches them everything about our American history. If they choose to come to school, then the events of the day will only be to honor what those days bring to us. I'm proud to be an American. I don't think it takes a whole lot to stand for 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ruffin. Okay, I just wanted to say that the governor's budget was presented on Wednesday, and I think this budget recognizes the needs of the cities, and I know that I would support this budget because it gives more money to Waterbury. So hopefully it's something to watch. So let's see how it plays out. But I think it's something that all the taxpayers of Waterbury, especially those concerned about funding for education, need to watch. So I would just suggest that everybody pay close attention to that. Also, there are many bills before the legislature pertaining to education. And again, I would recommend that people look at them specifically. There is legislation to require African-American curriculum in our school district, which I certainly would support, so we have to look at that. There's also legislation to look at school climate and early childhood and a whole host of other bills that impact us. So I would just ask the public to look at the Connecticut General Assembly website and weigh in on some of these public policies that do impact us. Sometimes the unintended consequences are there that we have to live with. So just as for your information. Okay, that we will move on to the consent calendar. Is there anyone who would like anything removed from the consent calendar? Seeing none. 8.1, request approval of a professional services agreement with Connecticut Education Network to provide internet service for the Department of Education. 8.2, request approval of a State of Connecticut purchase of service contract for the support for pregnant and parenting teens, women, fathers, and their families, SPPT program. Let's see. 8.3, request approval of an Memorandum of Understanding, program acknowledgement with Connecticut Military Department for Star-Based Connecticut for academic year 2018-2019. Committee on Building and School Facilities, use of school facilities by school organizations and/or city departments. 8.5, use of school facilities by outside organizations and/or waiver requests. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar items 8.1 to 8.5 as read.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you all. Next, number 10, Committee on School Personnel. Commissioner Sweeney.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Superintendent of Schools recommends that the Waterbury Board of Education approve the appointment of Stacy L. Kozlowski as Supervisor of Special Education effective immediately.
Commissioner, thank you.
Second.
Discussion. Superintendent.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like to introduce Ms. Melissa Baldwin, who will make a formal introduction and welcome to our new staff.
Good evening, everyone. Melissa Baldwin, Director of Special Education. Stacy is an 18-and-a-half-year veteran of Waterbury Public Schools. She lives in Thomaston and has been married for 13 years. Her two boys, ages 10 and 6, attend Maloney Magnet School. They are here with her tonight. Stacy attended East Farm School, which many of you know now as Generali. Stacy has a bachelor's degree in special education with a cross endorsement in elementary education. In addition, she received her master's of education from the University of Bridgeport and administrator certificate from Sacred Heart University. She plans to continue her higher education by enrolling in an autism and ABA program in order to provide the utmost supervision to our autism program. Stacy has served as a special education teacher for several elementary schools and was nominated by her colleagues as Teacher of the Year for 4 years in a row. Stacy has volunteered for numerous committees for almost 2 decades in order to grow her profession. She was chosen as the interim supervisor of special education for various schools over the past year and a half. She currently supervises the district's K-12 autism program and is a member of the Restraint and Seclusion Legislation Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I highly endorse her.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
I would like to thank the Board of Education Commissioners and Dr. Ruffin for this unbelievable opportunity. I'd like to thank Melissa Baldwin and Darren Schwartz for allowing me to showcase my ability to be an effective administrator in the interim supervisor position. Mrs. Baldwin has always had an open door policy, providing advice, support, and guidance that I greatly appreciate, and I've learned so much from her leadership style. I'd also like to thank all my fellow colleagues and administrators over the past 18 and a half years. My administrators have built my capacity as a leader by allowing me to take on leadership roles throughout these years. I've taken all the experience and expertise of my colleagues to build my skill set. I can truly say, without a doubt, we have some of the most talented and dedicated professionals working for our school system. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my husband, my boys, and my parents who have supported and helped me achieve my dreams. I look forward to continuing my tenure with Waterbury Public Schools in this new role, and I will continue to advocate for and support our special needs population. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Okay, next on the agenda is 11, Committee on Policy and Legislation. Commissioner Sweeney.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on Policy and Legislation recommends the Waterbury Board of Education approve the following addition revision to the bylaws of the Board of Education, items 9010. Duties of the President. Line D, the President or his/her designee will conduct orientation training for all new board members. This is a second reading of that bylaw.
Thank you. Any comments on that? No. Vice President?
We
Thank
need a
you.
second.
Oh, I'm sorry, wait.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. I'm sorry, Vice President.
Thank you. I am just going to state that I'm very pleased that we are moving forward with this particular bylaw. There was a need to, or has been a need, to have orientation for our new members. Now, this is taking nothing away from anyone wishing to run for the Board of Education, that they do their homework, that they sit in and watch our meetings and try to learn about the processes on the Board of Ed. But I noticed, and other commissioners have noticed, that there are times when our new members have to learn about the processes, learn about how we do things here in Waterbury in terms of our running meetings, etc. So after analyzing and looking at different things that are done in other districts, I felt it was important to bring this forward, and we did discuss this a couple of times in our policy meetings. But it's important that we, those who are experienced, help our new members along. We have that responsibility for not only for our students, to help that, but to help our district, and to help it so that our committee members hit the ground running. So I am pleased that we are moving forward with this, but I would like to see a little bit more written in our bylaws in terms of what that will involve. We have CABE classes that are offered at CABE, that's fine, but learning about what we do and how we run our meetings, I believe, will help our new committee members or new Board of Education members to adopt to the Board of Ed. So I'm very pleased that we're moving forward with this. I look forward to adding a little bit more to the policy or to the bylaws in terms of what we will train the candidate on, and particularly how long that orientation process will last. So I'm again just thankful that we're doing this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Next, 11.2, Commissioner Sweeney.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Committee on Policy and Legislation recommends the Waterbury Board of Education approve the revised tuberculosis control screening policy 5141.31 as attached.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, number 12, superintendent's notification to the board. Can I have a motion?
Motion to receive and place on file superintendent's notification of the board items 12.1 through 12.7.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. Number 13, unfinished business of preceding meeting. Any items? 14, other unfinished new and miscellaneous business. Commissioner Sweeney.
I would like to take a few moments to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Ruffin, Will Clark, and Jeff Hunter for immediately addressing a safety issue at a bus stop. As we all too often hear, cars are running through the bus stop lights. In this case, from behind and approaching the bus, while students are crossing what is already a very busy road. Jeff Hunter took action to ensure the bus would leave students on their side of the street, so now no student will need to cross the road. Will Clark has contacted the police department for assistance with law enforcement. I am grateful for their quick response to ensure the safety of our students. Will reminded me that unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. This happens throughout the city. I am appalled that there are drivers who think where they need to go is more important than the safety and the lives of our children. This district will not tolerate such blatant disregard for life and law. I urge anyone who witnesses a vehicle running the bus stop lights to report the incident to the district or the police. Our children deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new business? Okay.
Yes.
There's no executive session. Oh, but Commissioner Awad.
Well, Karen had her hand up first.
Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Dr. Ruffin and other members of the administration. You might have read in the paper that the Workforce Board was successful in securing a Youth Build grant, which is really quite an opportunity for those students who didn't realize the opportunity that they had when they were enrolled in our district high schools. So we're working diligently to put together a program. Doctor's been very responsive. The Adult Ed Department will be assisting us in providing GED training so that those students not only secure occupational skills, but secure their GED as well. So I just wanted to thank you for all that. We will be recruiting in earnest. I'll just give you a heads up since this is there on the airway. We're going to look to recruit about 90 students over the next 3 or 4 months. Well, don't say good yet. Because from those 90 students, they'll be asked to participate in a 2-week mental toughness camp. And from that 2-week mental toughness camp, we'll choose 30 to participate in the program. Those that aren't chosen in the first round will have the opportunity to compete again to be chosen in the second round. And again, we'll engage to seek 90 students to participate in what will be the mental toughness camp for the second round. We are extremely interested in that. We believe that Habitat for Humanity, who is our building partner, has really stepped up, and we're very excited about the opportunity. So stay tuned. You'll see us get out there strongly in social media to promote the program. We're going to ask the district to assist us with that and well. So we're very excited about the opportunity. And again, Doctor, I'd like to thank you for the support you've shown us early on. And 2 other programs that we're doing, I just wanted to bring a highlight to. Our Future Bankers Academy, which was actually featured on the Chamber's website today, will have its 12 participants We're going to do a little signing day that we're going to work with you guys to develop. So when you get picked to go to play basketball at Villanova, you get to wear a hat and sign. So now that these students are going to go to work at the banks, we're going to have the bank presidents come in and sit and sign with the students. So that's their signing day.
Cool.
It'll be a great event. And then lastly, we just saw 14 students finish our after-school manufacturing program, getting 2 NIMS level certifications in manufacturing. But more importantly, they took what's called the National Career Readiness Certification Exam. You can place a bronze, a silver, a gold, and a platinum. And what that does is it identifies your strengths in reading for information, problem solving, and those types of workforce skills that an employer would look for. So I've given this test to adults. We struggle to get bronze and silver out of our adults. Well, our after-school program of students made up from our comprehensive high schools scored bronze, silver, gold, and platinum.
All right.
So our kids are doing well, and I think we need to do a better job of promoting. We're getting there, but we got to continue to promote the good things that are happening in our district. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Vice President Harvey.
Thank you. As has been mentioned earlier, that it is Black History Month. Black History Month runs from February 1st to February 28th. It is as a result of historian Carter G. Woodson. First started out as a Black History Week, and then it went to a Black History Month. So I'm very pleased to hear the activities that are will be throughout the district. I wish there were more, but again, I'm very pleased. I know Walsh School has something planned for tomorrow, and I think we did have WAM's program as well as the others that are listed. In regards to the legislation before the General Assembly, Representative Bobby Gibson is promoting Bill HB 7082 for the study of African American history. There is a public hearing on March 6th, that's next Wednesday, happens to be my birthday, from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the LOB, the Legislative Office Building, room 2C. So if anyone wants to give testimony in regards to this bill, again, it's Bill HB 7082, March 6th from 1 to 7 at the HOB in room 2C. Please feel free to go and give your testimony. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I just want to give a thank you to Joe Gorman, who's here tonight. Hi, Joe. And Waterbury Health Department. We have been working very hard in the district to address the prevalence of asthma in our children. And I'm happy to say that every one of our schools now has a nebulizer. And we also, children who are in stress and who forget their, what do you call it? Their inhaler, thank you. The school nurse now has packets of the albuterol that are that can be hooked up to the nebulizer, so hopefully it will prevent the child from having to go to the ER, and hopefully be able to help that student immediately. And I'm very excited about that opportunity and addressing asthma. We have other things planned to do that, and we welcome the community input and support for that. A lot of the triggers of asthma really are things that we need to be aware of, dust, rugs, all those things that inhibit the breathing passageway. I'm not an expert on it, but I'm very excited that we have a team in Waterbury, a cross-sector team, working on trying to address this in a very systematic way. So I think that the more we can do to help our kids, the better, because there's a direct correlation between health and student achievement. If our kids are not in school, if our kids are sick, then it inhibits learning. So I think we need to pay a lot more attention to the health of our children when we are looking at the achievement gap and some of the factors. So I'm very excited to be working with Mr. Gorman and the Health Department to really look at the impact of health on our students. So again, thank you for that leadership.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
So, Joe, you might need to come up here. So how, is there a standing order for the student to have?
Yes, they would have to have a standing order,
And
yes.
what are we doing about mouthpieces?
They're interchangeable. They're like $2 a piece.
So we have multiple ones?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay,
No.
so, it's a fair question.
Well, I mean, the
So
way it
if
works,
it's-
just,
so
I'm
let me
glad
just
you,
ask this, are we saving, so if student A comes in and needs to use it, we save his mouthpiece, or are we
no,
discarding
they're
it?
discarded.
Okay.
They come in little packets.
Thank you, just want to make sure that we got
Correct,
all the bases
right.
covered.
They're in, they're disposable. They're very relatively inexpensive, and the packets are, that's absolutely the problem that we faced, because if the child did not have the inhaler, they couldn't use the nebulizer because we didn't have those interchangeable. So now the schools have them, and we're very excited about that. And we're going to be watching this very closely, because 20% of the kids who go to the ER from our schools, it's asthma related. So we're hoping to really help our kids before that happens and work with the families in looking at the triggers and how to manage asthma, because it is a manageable disease. So, any other questions? Okay, thank you. All right, no executive session. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.